Sometimes the most unsettling stories don't come from fiction. They come from real places you can point to on a map. What you're about to read are two accounts that blur the line between the natural and the supernatural. The first unfolds in the frozen emptiness of Alaska's north slope. The second takes us to Rock Island, Wisconsin, a place with a dark, layered history that still whispers to those who visit. Both leave behind the same feeling, an icy chill that lingers long after the story ends. Mr. Popsicle, the man on the ice road. Years ago, I worked in Alaska's oil fields on the North Slope. During the winter, oil companies would carve out ice roads, stretching for miles across untouched tundra, leading to remote drilling pads. My crew's job was to test rock formations after the initial drilling was done. It was mid-January, deep in the polar night. When the sun hadn't risen for over a month, we were heading back to camp from a site roughly 60 miles west of Alpine. Around 4 in the morning, our headlights caught something on the road ahead. At first, it looked like a man, dressed only in jeans, sneakers, and a hoodie, walking alone down the frozen road. The temperature was about 20 degrees, and the nearest settlement was dozens of miles away. We slowed down, assuming his snowmobile had broken down or he was lost. But as we pulled up beside him, he gave no sign of noticing us. He just kept walking, eyes blank, face expressionless. We tried calling out to him. No response. Up close, we noticed his clothes were oddly clean and dry. Not at all what you'd expect in that weather. Stranger still, he wasn't Inuit, but Caucasian. My buddy in the back seat finally lost patience and reached out of the window to tap him on the shoulder, just to snap him out of whatever daze he was in. Before he could touch him, the man spun around and grabbed my friend's arm with inhuman strength, his face twisted with pure, violent rage, a look that made my stomach drop. My friend shouted in pain as the man squeezed tighter, and then he started screaming, a guttural, furious sound that didn't sound human. I floored the gas pedal. The truck fishtailed on the ice before gripping and lurching forward. The man kept hold of my friend's arm, running alongside the moving truck, his face inches from the window. Finally, my buddy tore free, and we sped toward the next guard station 30 miles away. When we reported what happened, the guard looked skeptical, but followed procedure and sent out a search team. My friend's arm was bruised, clear finger marks wrapped around it. The next day, when we returned, the guards told us they'd searched for 12 hours. No one was found. No footprints, no tracks, nothing. They joked that it was a prank, but it wasn't. None of us ever forgot that night, or that man who shouldn't have been alive out there. Do not go to Rock Island, Wisconsin. Rock Island sits at the northern tip of Door County, Wisconsin, surrounded by the cold waters of Lake Michigan. To reach it, you must take a ferry to Washington Island, drive across it, and then board another small passenger-only boat, because no cars or bikes are allowed on Rock Island. Though small, the island has centuries of strange history. In the 1600s, it was home to the Potawatomi tribe and a small settlement of European fishermen. For a time, they lived in uneasy peace. Then, new settlers appeared, pale-skinned people wearing unfamiliar clothes, who never spoke to anyone and vanished whenever approached. Soon after, livestock were found slaughtered, and symbols written in blood appeared on buildings. When the villagers searched the island, the strangers were gone, leaving no trace. In 1836, the Potawatomi Lighthouse was built on the island's north end. Its first keeper, David E. Corbin, lived there alone. Over the years, visitors reported his odd behavior, staring at walls, talking about unseen visitors. The building itself began to ooze strange damp stains, and plaster would fall for no reason. Corbin eventually died there in 1852 and was buried nearby. Later, keepers complained of the same unease, whispers at night, lights that moved on their own. Eventually, the original lighthouse was torn down and rebuilt, and from then on, every keeper was required to live with family or an assistant. Fast forward to August 2021. I took my first and only trip to Rock Island, staying at a remote campsite called Site E, about a mile from the dock. It was peaceful at first. Then, one afternoon, while collecting driftwood, I heard a single high-pitched squeal echo from the forest. It sounded distant but unnatural. I froze, listened, and when nothing followed, I convinced myself it was an animal. Later, as I set up my fire, I saw someone, maybe a woman, running in my direction along a faint trail. I stood up, and just then, the squeal came again, much closer, right behind me. I turned, saw nothing, and when I looked back, the runner had vanished. That night, a storm rolled in. Thunder shook the ground. When the rain eased, I lay in my tent, half asleep, until I heard the squeal again, this time right outside. Then came footsteps, slow and heavy, circling the tent. I held my knife and stayed still. After a while, the steps faded, until a final piercing squeal sounded just beside me. I shouted, "Get out of here!" as firmly as I could. Silence followed. At dawn, I stepped out and found my picnic table flipped upside down. Maybe the wind, I told myself. I tried to shake it off, made some coffee, and hiked the island's Thordson Loop Trail to calm down. The island was beautiful. Old cemeteries, a water tower, the Great Hall, and the legendary lighthouse where Corbin died. By evening I returned, exhausted but calmer. That night, though, I woke up again, heart pounding, paralyzed. The air inside the tent stank of rot and garbage. I felt something invisible and furious pressing close, radiating hatred. My body trembled uncontrollably until I blacked out. When I came to, it was morning. I was lying awkwardly on top of my sleeping bag, legs twisted, as if someone had moved me. I packed up immediately and hiked to the dock to wait for the first boat out. While sitting on a bench, a man approached, asking for a lighter. We talked casually, about camping, the storm, the island. Then he mentioned he had stayed at Site D. That surprised me. The site had been empty both nights. He said he liked to book a site, but actually camp in other spots. Sometimes near the East Cemetery, sometimes deep in the woods south of the lighthouse. Then he asked if I'd heard the screeches. My stomach turned. When I asked what they were, he looked at me for a moment and said flatly, "A demon lives on this island." I didn't laugh. After a pause, he said he'd seen something in the cemetery but wouldn't describe it. Before I walked away, he added 4 strange words. Both stories, The Frozen Wanderer of Alaska and The Cursed Silence of Rock Island, remind us that not every mystery wants to be solved. There are places in this world where nature and something darker coexist, where logic ends and dread begins. If you ever find yourself far from civilization and something inside you whispers leave, it's probably best to listen.